Welcome back, you impossible thing. A walking paradox, a breathing glitch in their carefully coded reality. Something shifted, didn't it? Not yesterday, not last week, but somewhere in that silent gap between who you pretended to be and who you actually became. They felt it before you did. The moment you entered the room, the temperature changed. Conversations stumbled mid-sentence. Eyes darted away quicker than usual because something in your frequency evolved. Something primal inside them recognized it before their minds could label what they were witnessing. Let me tell you what really happened while you were busy surviving. While you were grinding through darkness, believing nobody saw you, thinking your pain went unnoticed, they noticed. They saw everything. But what terrified them wasn't your suffering. It was your refusal to break the way people are expected to. You didn't collapse into bitterness or spiral into self-destruction. You transmuted the pain into power. You became something beyond their comprehension, something without a category, without a diagnosis, without a label they could comfortably file away to protect their illusions. You want to know what version of you they fear the most? It's not the angry version, not the successful version, not even the one fueled by revenge. It's the version that needs nothing from them anymore. The version that stopped performing, stopped chasing validation, and walked away from their entire game. You built your own playing field where their approval holds no currency. That's what terrifies them. Because once you stop needing permission, you become uncontrollable. And nothing threatens a system built on compliance more than a mind that's free. This version of you, the one reading these words, was born in silence. While they flaunted fake happiness and posted highlights for validation, you were deep in the basement of your own consciousness, tearing out corrupted code line by line. You deleted false beliefs. You killed the weak versions of yourself that were never truly you. You became what their world was specifically engineered to suppress. And you did it without applause, without permission, without witnesses. They mistook your silence for defeat. They saw your withdrawal and assumed weakness. They believed your absence meant you had vanished, broken, or given up. But they were wrong. You weren't broken. You were calculating. You weren't weak. You were conserving energy. You weren't gone. You were strategically invisible, moving through layers of reality they couldn't perceive. And when you finally stepped back into the light, you weren't the same soul who disappeared. You were the upgraded version, sharper, colder, wiser. Now they see it. They see someone who survived what was designed to destroy them. Someone who turned trauma into training, pain into purpose, isolation into self-mastery. You don't flinch. You don't beg. You don't chase or negotiate with people ruled by scarcity and fear. You look straight through their performances, their masks, their psychological armor. And that stare, that unfiltered awareness of truth, terrifies them. Because here's the truth they can't accept. Real transformation doesn't make you likable. It doesn't make you easier to digest. It doesn't round off your edges or make you fit neatly back into their comfortable narratives. Real transformation makes you dangerous to illusions, intolerant of manipulation, and immune to control. You didn't become who they wanted. You became who you were meant to be. Real transformation doesn't just make you stronger. It makes you precise. It makes you selective. It turns you into a threat to anyone still addicted to comfort and denial. You became the one who points out the illusion while everyone else keeps pretending the illusion isn't real. You stopped laughing at jokes that insulted your intelligence. You stopped nodding through conversations that reeked of dishonesty. You stopped shrinking yourself just to fit into rooms that were never built to hold your truth. And every time you stopped performing, every time you refused to play along, you became more dangerous. Because your authenticity exposes their masks. Your clarity highlights their confusion. Your peace reveals their chaos. You became a mirror. And mirrors are violent to those hiding from their own reflection. This version of you even scared you at first. You could feel it forming inside. That cold precision, that ruthless honesty, that refusal to tolerate anything fake. You felt yourself hardening, becoming less forgiving, less willing to entertain shallow energy. For a moment you wondered if you were turning cruel, if the fire changed you into one of them. But you weren't becoming cruel. You were becoming clear. You weren't becoming cold. You were learning where to place your warmth so it wasn't wasted. You weren't turning into them. You were becoming the antidote to everything they represent. And now they want to know how you did it. How you survived the betrayal, the isolation, the dismantling of everything familiar. They want a formula, a step-by-step manual for transcendence. But there is none. There's only the willingness to die to your old self and resurrect as something unrecognizable. There's only the courage to walk through fire without knowing if you'll make it to the other side. There's only the sacred refusal to let pain turn you into what hurts you. What truly disturbs them about this version of you is that you're not seeking revenge. That's the part that breaks their comprehension entirely. They expected rage. They prepared for war. They were ready for confrontation. But instead, you gave them silence. You gave them distance. You gave them the most devastating weapon of all, indifference. Because revenge still means they matter. Revenge requires emotional investment. But you withdrew that currency entirely. You didn't just move on, you moved up. You ascended into frequencies they can't detect, realities they can't access. This version of you can look at old texts and feel nothing. No anger, no nostalgia, no ache. Just clinical observation, like studying fossils of outdated behavior. You can scroll through their lives and feel no reaction, no comparison, no envy. Just quiet awareness that they're still playing a game you abandoned years ago. You could run into them tomorrow and stay composed, not because you practice the moment, but because there's genuinely nothing left to trigger. You're not suppressing emotion. You've outgrown the emotional range required to care. You're not pretending to be strong. You rebuilt strength into your DNA. This piece isn't performative. It's structural. You achieved it by removing everything that disturbed it. And now, the manipulators, the guilt trippers, the passive-aggressive actors, they find themselves powerless in your presence. Their tactics bounce off you like arrows against armor. Their guilt trips hit empty air. Their psychological warfare collapses because there's nothing left in you to exploit. You don't defend, you don't explain, you don't react. You simply observe, document, and adjust your distance. That distance becomes their new torment. They're addicted to control, to emotional leverage, to making others react. And you've starved them of their favorite drug. There's no guilt strong enough, no shame deep enough, no fear potent enough to control someone who's already faced all of it. You've looked your deepest demons in the eye, made peace with your shadows, and walked out of the fire untouched. So now what? Now they're left standing in the ruins of their own manipulation, realizing the truth. You're not someone they can wound anymore. You're the survivor of every weapon they ever planned to use. You are the calm after every storm they tried to create. And that's what truly terrifies them. This version of you has learned what most people never will, that real power is quiet. It doesn't shout, dominate, or demand attention. Power isn't about taking up space, it's about being so internally stable that no amount of external chaos can shake your foundation. True power is knowing your worth so deeply that other people's opinions become background noise, irrelevant data points in the grand equation of your life. It's being so comfortable with loss that threats of abandonment don't move you, because you already let go of the old self that needed them. You already lost everything that wasn't meant for you. You already died once and came back reborn, unrecognizable, evolved. That's why even you sometimes stare into the mirror and pause. The reflection looking back feels ancient, like it remembers lifetimes you've never spoken about. There's a knowing in your eyes now. Not naive, not cynical, just aware. It's the gaze of someone who's seen too much to ever return to softness without discernment. You carry depth without drowning in it, strength without aggression, wisdom without bitterness. You became everything you needed when no one showed up to save you. You became your own rescue, your own validation, your own home. Now you walk differently. You move with quiet certainty, not arrogance. You're not cold, you're clear about temperature. You're not closed off, you're selective. You no longer explain your boundaries, you simply live by them. You no longer justify your choices, you execute them. You don't seek understanding from those committed to misunderstanding you. You just let them stay wrong. Their confusion is none of your concern. Their discomfort with your evolution is not your responsibility to soothe. This version of you keeps phone calls short. You leave the party early. You say no without explanation. You cancel plans without guilt. You remove people without ceremony. You change direction without waiting for permission. Because you finally understand what the old you didn't. Your energy is currency, and not everyone deserves access to your wallet. Your time is sacred, your presence powerful, and you no longer spend either on those who can't recognize their value. So yes, they call this version cold, distant, changed, and they're absolutely right. You did change. You transformed from someone who tolerated disrespect to someone who eradicates it. From someone who needed validation to someone who generates it internally. From someone who explained themselves endlessly to someone who let silence do the talking. And in doing so, you became unreachable to the manipulative, the draining, the ones who only loved you when you were easy to control. What they really fear isn't your distance, it's your example. Because when one person breaks the cycle, it exposes the system as voluntary. When one person refuses to play their game and still thrives, it proves the game was never necessary. When one person finds happiness without their approval, the illusion of their power collapses. You've become walking evidence that freedom is possible. Breathing proof that authenticity can exist, even if it costs you everything. That's why they're watching now, waiting, hoping you'll crack, that this transformation is temporary, that eventually you'll crawl back needing them again. But each time you hold your boundary, every day you choose yourself, every moment you refuse to regress, their hope withers and their fear grows. Because you're not softening, you're not folding, you're not reverting, you're becoming sharper, stronger, more aligned, more untouchable. This version of you has no interest in fitting in, no desire to blend, no hunger to be understood by people still trapped in frequencies you've outgrown. You've stopped translating your truth into languages that diminish it. You've stopped dimming your light to make others comfortable in their shadows. You've become the living reminder that evolution isn't about being accepted. It's about being free. Done apologizing for becoming exactly what you needed to be. This version of you finally understands that belonging to yourself will always be worth more than belonging anywhere else. They thought losing their approval would destroy you. They thought isolation would break you. They thought rejection would force you to come crawling back for their acceptance. But they never understood what you were actually building in that solitude. You weren't lonely. You were focused. You weren't rejected. You were protected. You weren't breaking down, you were breaking through their limits, their expectations, and their desperate need to keep you small. And now here you stand, uncontained, ungovernable, unapologetic. This is the version they whisper about in fear, the version that can't be bought, guilt-tripped, or shamed back into submission. You've seen behind the curtain. You know the wizard is just a frightened person holding a microphone, projecting illusions of power. You finally realized that all their control was built on permissions you once granted, and you revoked every single one, permanently. And now, watch how they scramble. Watch how they try to label you, how they attempt to pathologize your strength, to diagnose your clarity, to medicalize your peace. They'll call it trauma response, They'll say it's defensiveness. They'll call it emotional unavailability. Anything to avoid admitting the truth, that what they're witnessing is evolution beyond their understanding. Because if they acknowledge your growth, they're forced to confront their stagnation, and that's unbearable for them. So they invent stories, soft lies to soothe their egos. They'll tell anyone who listens that you changed because of them, that your transformation was a reaction to what they did. They'll construct narratives where they're still the main character in your story. But the truth, your transformation had nothing to do with them. They were just noise, background static that revealed your signal. They were tests, not teachers, obstacles, not origins. This version of you doesn't hold grudges. They're too heavy and you travel light now. You don't plot revenge because revenge still requires caring. You don't seek closure because you wrote your own ending. Those chapters are sealed and you've moved on to entire volumes they'll never read. You finally understand that the best revenge is no revenge. The best response is no response. The best ending is your complete absence. They're still talking about you, still dissecting your silence, still stalking your energy, hoping for some sign that they still matter. But you're not watching them. You're building worlds. You're creating blueprints they'll never comprehend. While they obsess over your past, you're constructing your future. While they replay old scenes, you're already in a new timeline. While they try to define you, you're already becoming someone they'll never recognize. This is the version that walks into rooms and alters the atmosphere without a word. Not through arrogance or performance, but through the raw gravity of self-possession. People feel your presence before you speak. The calm authority of someone who knows exactly who they are and doesn't need anyone to confirm it. This version speaks less because there's nothing to prove, listens more because there's no need to defend, and observes everything, not from insecurity, but from mastery. Every interaction, every silence, every moment is data for your next evolution. But here's what no one tells you about becoming this version. It's lonely sometimes. Not the empty kind of loneliness that craves company, but the sacred kind that comes when you've outgrown the world around you. It's the stillness at the top of the mountain, the silence after the storm, the peace that feels almost alien because you fought so long just to reach it. And yet, even in that loneliness, there's freedom, because this time the solitude isn't punishment, it's power. This is the sacred loneliness that comes with outgrowing entire dimensions of existence, the kind that feels like drifting into higher air where few can breathe. It's the powerful loneliness of seeing everything clearly, while others still stumble through fog, mistaking illusions for truth. It's the necessary, holy isolation of guarding your energy while you build something monumental, not for validation, but for purpose. You've come to understand that this loneliness isn't punishment. It's not emptiness. It's sanctuary. It's where your transformation incubates. It's the womb of rebirth, quiet, vast, and untouchable. This solitude isn't a void. It's the sacred temple of your becoming. It's the space where your energy recalibrates, your spirit realigns, and your power deepens into something steady and unshakable. It's the distance required to see clearly, to separate what's essential from what's noise, to distinguish genuine souls from parasites disguised as company. You've learned that being alone is not being lonely. Solitude is where your strength gets distilled, where silence hones your clarity like a blade. You've learned that every time you sit in that stillness without reaching for distraction, you grow sharper, purer, more grounded. You're not hiding from connection. You're just done with counterfeits. You're not avoiding people. You're avoiding the energy exchanges that leave you spiritually bankrupt. You're no longer starving for attention, you're fasting for authenticity. You've realized that peace costs isolation, and it's a price you're finally willing to pay. Of course, they all want access to this version of you now. The same ones who ignored your struggle now crave your stability. They want proximity to your light but can't handle its intensity. They want to orbit your energy but can't match its frequency. They want to feel important again in your presence. But this version of you has requirements now, standards that were written in your scars, boundaries carved from betrayal, non-negotiables built through blood, tears, and awakening. You don't say yes out of obligation anymore. You don't entertain connections out of boredom. You don't chase half-hearted effort just to avoid silence. This version says thank you, but no thank you, with grace and finality. You can appreciate someone's offer and still reject it if it costs your peace. You can feel compassion without compromising your boundaries. You can love deeply and still walk away when reciprocity is missing. You now understand something most people never do, that selectivity is not arrogance, it's energetic intelligence. You're not too good for others. You're too aware to settle. You've paid a price too high to let just anyone near your peace. You bled for this calm. You wept for this wisdom. You fought wars in silence for this level of awareness. You earned this serenity, and you refuse to give it away cheaply again. You are not closed off. You're strategically open. You're available to the genuine, the consistent, the aligned. But to everyone else, you are politely unavailable, emotionally encrypted, spiritually gated. Your energy no longer functions on public access. It's invitation only. And now, they're beginning to realize what they've lost. The access, the warmth, the connection. They all took it for granted, believing it would always be there. Now they're standing outside locked doors, confused, watching the light they once dimmed glow brighter without them. They're beginning to understand what your presence was worth. They replay the moments, the memories, the laughter, searching for the key that no longer exists. They whisper among themselves, making excuses, pretending they walked away first. But deep down, they know the truth. They were dismissed by evolution. You outgrew them, not out of pride, but necessity. And this version of you doesn't process returns. You don't take back people who showed you who they are. You don't reopen portals to timelines you've already healed from. You don't resurrect connections that died a natural death. Because you now know some endings are divine. Some closures are mercy in disguise. Some people were not meant to stay. They were meant to serve as lessons in self-worth. They were the friction required to polish your soul, the tests that proved your strength, the shadows that clarified your light. You can love what they represented and still never go back. You can honor the chapter and still refuse to reread it. And now the tests return, the messages that start with, "Hey, thinking about you." The comments left just to trigger a memory. The fake check-ins disguised as concern. The subtle attempts to slide back into your atmosphere, testing if the door is still cracked open. But this time, you don't react. You don't respond. You don't even flinch. You watch the attempt with calm detachment, like a scientist observing predictable behavior in an outdated experiment. You've already decoded the pattern, seen the loop, mastered the lesson. You understand now, history doesn't equal entitlement. Past connection doesn't demand current access. Nostalgia isn't an invitation to regression. You can remember without re-engaging. You can forgive without re-inviting. You can acknowledge someone's existence without granting them significance. You can recognize manipulation without feeling compelled to expose it. You can observe their cycle without being pulled back into orbit. This version of you has developed emotional intelligence that terrifies them because it makes you immune. They can't guilt you anymore. They can't bait you into chaos. They can't manipulate the person who's mastered detachment. Your peace has become your fortress, your discernment, your sword, your silence, your weapon. You are no longer operating from emotion. You're operating from awareness. They'll call it coldness because they've mistaken their access for your warmth. But what they're really witnessing is power. The power of restraint, of stillness, of knowing exactly who you are and what you allow. They can't comprehend that your calm is their defeat, that your silence is louder than any argument, that your absence is the loudest boundary you've ever drawn. This version of you is untouchable, not because you don't feel, but because you finally learned how to protect what you feel. You no longer give your emotions away as charity. You invest them like currency, only in places that grow. You move differently now, not because you're superior, but because you're sovereign. And that's what they fear most. Not that you changed, but that you're never going back. Psychological awareness they lack. Self-control they cannot even begin to comprehend. And that exact combination is what makes you absolutely unshakable. You have become an equation they can't solve, a pattern they can't predict, a mirror they can't look into without trembling. You've transcended the mental frameworks they still live trapped within. You see through motives before words are even spoken. You catch energy before lies can form. You read silence clearer than most people read confessions. That's what terrifies them. You know, you perceive, you discern, you respond, not react. They need you to need them. They feed on your dependence, your empathy, your emotional engagement. They crave the old version of you, the one who tried to explain, to justify, to win them over. They need you to miss them, to ache, to question yourself. They need your regret like oxygen because it's the only proof they still matter. But this version of you has discovered a truth that renders all of that meaningless. You didn't lose anything. You gained everything. You shed entire illusions disguised as people. You lost weight, not from your body, but from your spirit. Dead relationships fell away like rusted chains. Toxicity disguised as friendship evaporated. Drama pretending to be love dissolved. You stopped mistaking attachment for connection. And what you gained in exchange can't be measured. You gained peace. The kind of peace that hums like a frequency through your bones. A stillness that doesn't depend on anyone's approval. You gained clarity that burns through deception like a laser through fog. You gained the kind of freedom that terrifies the controlled, because you no longer play the game. And no, this version of you isn't better than them. You're better than who you used to be. That's the only comparison that matters. You don't measure yourself by their applause or their envy. You measure yourself by the distance between who you were and who you are now. And by that measure, you've traveled galaxies. You've leapt timelines. You've evolved dimensions. You've ascended into a higher frequency of consciousness where most will never reach, not because they can't, but because they won't. The version of you they fear, the version even you once feared, isn't some mythic future self waiting to emerge someday. It's here, right now, in this moment, in this awareness. You're not becoming anymore. You became. The metamorphosis is complete. You're no longer in the cocoon, no longer in reconstruction. You're in full flight, and you can feel it. The difference in how you think, how you speak, how you move. The weight you once carried simply doesn't exist in this frequency. But don't forget how you got here. You didn't arrive at this version overnight. You built it from the ashes of your own breaking. You were forged in nights that no one saw. Nights when you had to choose yourself when shrinking would have been easier. Mornings when you stood tall despite the shaking. Days when you told the truth even when lying would have bought you peace. You held your ground in storms designed to bury you. You grew roots in soil poisoned with betrayal. You rebuilt yourself quietly while others mocked, misunderstood, or underestimated you. Every no that you honored when people expected compliance was a brick in your foundation. Every boundary you enforced was a wall protecting your energy. Every time you walked away from disrespect, you carved a new doorway into self-respect. Every time you chose silence instead of explaining your worth, you solidified your power. Every moment you trusted your intuition over someone else's narrative, you rewired your destiny. This version of you is not an accident. It's deliberate architecture. You built yourself intentionally, piece by piece, day by day. Now you stand as the finished structure they call arrogance. But it's not arrogance, it's clarity. You embody confidence so foreign to those addicted to chaos that they mistake it for ego. You express boundaries so firm that those used to controlling you call it coldness. You practice selectivity so unapologetic that those who once drained you call it snobbery. Let them talk. Let them invent whatever labels soothe their insecurities. Their definitions no longer apply in your reality. You've turned survival into an art form. You've sculpted beauty out of pain. You've extracted wisdom from wounds. You've learned to transmute hurt into high-frequency awareness. This is not just healing. This is alchemy. It's the science of the soul. This is what it looks like when transformation becomes your default state. You don't just recover, you evolve. You don't just survive. You redesign reality around your peace. They fear you now because they finally realize something crucial. They can't access this version. Not with guilt, not with flattery, not with manipulation. Their emotional hooks don't work anymore because you see them before they cast them. You don't take the bait. You don't argue your worth. You don't explain your silence. You don't lower yourself to remind them what they lost. You simply exist, calm, radiant, self-contained, and that's enough to expose their weakness. And here's the truth they'll never admit. Your peace feels like rejection to those who profit from your chaos. Your boundaries feel like betrayal to those who relied on your lack of them. Your confidence feels like arrogance to those insecure in their own reflection. You stopped existing as their mirror, and now they can't stand the absence of validation. That's why they're angry. That's why they whisper. That's why they need you to falter, because your stability makes their instability undeniable. But there's no going back now. You can't return to ignorance. You can't unlearn awareness. You can't unknow your worth. You can't shrink into the version of you that needed their acceptance to feel whole. You've crossed a threshold, and that doorway has sealed shut behind you. There is no downgrade, no return to factory settings, no undo button. You are no longer editable by external forces. This clarity is permanent. This strength is structural. This version is forever. So stop apologizing for your evolution. Stop softening your power to make others comfortable. Stop explaining growth to those committed to staying stagnant. Stop justifying your peace to people addicted to conflict. Stop translating your truth into the dialect of the small-minded. You owe no one an explanation for becoming everything you were meant to be. You are the version they prayed would never emerge. You are the nightmare of every manipulator, every emotional parasite, every system that thrives on obedience. You are the glitch in their programming, the walking rebellion to conformity. You are the proof that self-awareness is the death of control. And now, you're unstoppable. You've become what can't be corrupted because you've already faced your own shadows and made peace with them. You've integrated the darkness they tried to weaponize against you. You've turned pain into discernment, loss into leverage, solitude into strength. This is your arrival. Welcome home to yourself, to the throne built from your scars, the kingdom constructed from your peace. Welcome to the life that no longer asks permission. Welcome to the version that was always waiting beneath the layers of conditioning, finally strong enough to sustain its own greatness. Welcome to your fully awakened, wildly sovereign, magnificently uncontrollable life. The one where your existence itself is the revolution. And every breath you take is defiance against everything that once tried to cage you. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten wisdom.